corporate structure works very predominantly on the outcome, right? What can you give me in this particular time and amount of resources that I have? What is the outcome of this? And that becomes a very mathematical approach, whereas health is not mathematical. It is very much a qualitative thing, right? So people do need to start understanding this again, that yes, there are certain things that you can achieve. The question is whether it is you need to achieve it, because working a particular number of hours doesn't necessarily always equate to you being able to produce a proper quality result. And the second thing is, again, what works for one person needn't necessarily work for another. And the third thing is, if you're looking at it in a very myopic view of only one aspect of your life, where you're talking only about work, then yes, it is feasible. But if you're talking about the fact that work is one aspect of your life, it's one quadrant, and then you have your work life, you have your personal life, that is your family life, you have your social life, and then you have your own part, which is just you. You have to address all of these aspects. If you take it in a broad spectrum perspective like this, then you really need to understand that you cannot, make one aspect 90% and then expect yourself to be healthy through and through. So the corporate structure has, unfortunately, from my experience, a very myopic view about this. And also they have a very cross sectional view. So this is not just corporates में बहुत ऐसा उठ के दिखता है, because their intensity is far more. But this is how most people work. They almost always tend to look at life in a very cross sectional way. What is happening now, and how do I get rid of this situation now? Okay, so when you are supposing you have a deadline, you put in all your efforts to finish the work as much as possible, pull a 20-hour work day, and not sleep enough, exert yourself, finish the deadline, and then kal ka kal dekha jayega. Now what is starting to happen is, because of this kind of work ethic, you are running through your resources, both mind and body, and you are starting to build up this burnout culture that is starting, right, where the person is working with full gusto for a period of time, then they need to collapse for a good 2-3 months, not function, not have their intellectual or emotional capacities in place. They're not really able to enjoy any other aspect of life. And then after they almost stay stagnant for some time, they come back with a full force, right? So this kind of fluctuation that is coming up is really leading to a very unhealthy lifestyle. And the consequence of this is, when people want to de-stress, they start to get into very unhealthy habits. Then that is where you start getting your addictions. You start to get alcohol and drugs are still things I think we understand, but smaller things like doom scrolling on the internet, sugar addictions, caffeine addictions is something that's coming up so highly, just so that people can get away from this lifestyle. What they're doing is, it's already very high intensity, so they're trying to cope with it with another high intensity activity that kind of negates what they're going through. And overall, what is happening, there is absolutely no decompressing, there is no relaxation that is happening. They are not coming back to normal and healing. What is happening is they're just burning out, and then in the end, it's leading to a lot of emotional emptiness, a lot of dissatisfaction, physical exhaustion. This is the bare minimum. Then of course you start to have your lifestyle issues like high cholesterol levels, your high blood pressure, diabetes, mental health disorders that are starting. So this is what is happening in the general work ethic, and I think this is something that is promoted in general. Like even in schools, if you see, that is how children are made to work. High pressure situations, you force them, you stress them out, and in that stress they do manage to work, right? And they give it their all, and then they get exhausted. So this kind of ping ponging that is happening is something that is incredibly unhealthy.